My name is Marie Chandler, and for today's speech, I'm going to give you a short brief on how to properly go over your hand receipt. References I've used is Army Regulation 735-5 and DAPAM 710-2-1. Accountability is a very important role in the U.S. Army. Accountability is the obligation of a person to keep records of property, identifications, gains, loss, do-ins, do-out, shortages, balance, and heresies. Responsibility is another very important role in the U.S. Army. Obligation of an individual to ensure government property or funds are properly used and cared for. There are 5 types of responsibility: command responsibility, supervisory responsibility, direct responsibility, custodial responsibility, and personal responsibility. To elaborate on the different levels of responsibility, as the commander, which is the head of the company, they're responsible for all the equipment, inventoried every month or when they take over the command and before they leave the command. Supervisory responsibility is someone that's working as a platoon leader or manager. They have responsibility to all the equipment. After 30 days of using the equipment, they automatically gain responsibility of it. So if I was to give someone a computer and they've been working in a job for about 30 days, they destroy that computer, whether they sign for it or not, they are responsible for the payment of fixing that computer. Direct responsibility is the sections that are responsible for the items that the section uses. So if, say, where I work at is the supply section, we have 6 computers, we have 2 vehicles. One of us would have to sign for that equipment, so we become direct responsible for that specific 6 computers and 2 vehicles. Custodial responsibility, that's where I fall in. Because of the commander giving me the virtue of my job, I control and is responsible pretty much the same way he is responsible for maintaining responsibility and accountability of all the equipment. And then personal responsibility is just an individual just taking 2 seconds to be like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I treat this computer as if it was my own personal computer and not destroy it, or the truck drive safely so you don't get into an accident. Because just like we don't have to pay a direct deductible if you crash a vehicle, you might end up having to pay for the damages out of your pocket that your personal insurance might not cover. So that's why it comes to that personal responsibility for that individual to take care of that item or a product. Primary hand receipt holders. The commanders having command responsibility appoints a sub-hand receipt holder. So once the commander signs for all the equipment, he delegated down to someone else. So therefore, that individual can take care and be responsible for those equipment. Change of hand receipt holder. So once somebody comes in and out, they have the inventory, and I will give them the hand receipt that they will sign. They verify serial numbers, they verify the items, they verify the price, and they both will sign for that document. Here is an example of the hand receipt. Once we get the hand receipt printed, you will see the unit level, which is the company's name, will be on top. The LIN is considered the SKU number or the manufacturer number of that item. Then the MSN is that specific product, the name of the item, how many of the item that the individual is going to be signing for and being responsible for. And then on the bottom here, they will sign their pay grade and date. And this is what we would file for that section or that individual. And some commanders require us to do it every 90 days. Some will say once every 6 months, and some would want you, depending on the sensitivity of the item, to do this inventory every month. Component hand receipts. The hand receipt is record of responsibility for the listed item. The component hand receipt is prepared by the same person as well, and it's a shortage between the it's smaller items of the big item that is added on the component hand receipt. So the component hand receipt would look like this. It would have the NSN, the manufacturer, the SKU number, which will be here in the first column. If it's a serial number item, it will have a separate slot for the serial number, the name of the item, which is here, item description. The ARC is the code that is used whether the item is expandable, durable, or non-durable, meaning how frequently can we get an item, how many are issued, how many they're authorized, how many they have on hand, and how many they due to turn in or is defective. Non-expandable, expandable, and durable, as I said with the previous slide. So non-expandable is major and items. A truck would be a non-expandable item. An expandable is pretty much our office and perishable supplies. So pens, paper, like a mouse, a keyboard is all considered expandable because that stuff has small shelf life, and we don't need to really keep that accountability on it. We are aware that the mouse will go out, the keyboard will go out, and we will replace that stuff. Pens, paper, and etc. And durable is hand tools, software. So when I say software, I don't mean what I would use on the computer as if like Microsoft. I'm talking about special software that certain computers or certain programs that the Army systems require us to use. And hand tools. So a lot of our mechanics, they have their own mechanic tool chest, so we do 1-for-1 swap with the tools. Just because a tool is damaged, we don't just throw it away. We have snap tools, or we'll come to the installation and do 1-for-1 inspections and swaps for the tools. Hand receipts to the subordinate end users. There's no restriction on the number of times a property can be submitted down. So if I am the primary person as the commander and I sub it down to my next person in charge, that person can also sub it down to the next level of that person, of a direct person using the computer. So if I sign for all 6 computers in a section, that doesn't mean I'm using all 6. So I would sign it out to the rest of my team, so therefore they have accountability as well of the computers and nothing grow legs. Here's an example of the 2062 that I would do. So I would cross out annex because it's not an annex, it's a hand receipt. And it would come from me to whoever I'm signing it out to. I would put the manufacturer number of the item description will go here, the date. And then down here, same thing, the manufacturer number will go here, the name of the item. If there's a serial number, the serial number would either go next to it or in a block below it. If it's expandable, durable, non-expandable, each set, box, so the unit of issue, authorize how many they're allowed to have, and what are they signing will go here, and how many pages of it. If it's a lot of items, it might have 2 or 3 pages. So I have a continuation sheet as well. Continue it the same way. Put the number of the sheets, and the individual will sign underneath the block A of what items they have. We normally don't allow them to skip a space, so no one can do fraud by adding another item. So we make sure we have them cross it out, cross a line out, and sign underneath the numbers that they're being issued. The DD-362 and DD-200 are 2 forms we use. They're will not be processed by the hand receipt holder. They normally are processed by myself as a supply sergeant. Those 2 forms is another way we maintain responsibility and for hand receipts. The 362 is a statement of charges form. So say someone do damage something and they are responsible for it, and the Army needs them to pay for it, I would draft this 362. It will start off with the organization, where the duty station is, like it will say Fort Bragg, the date, the document number, everything has a processing number, which will be from my office as well. Is in the future we need to look it up. The item descriptions will go all through here. How many, the price, and the total price. Some items are depreciable, but we have to make sure we look at the Army regulations to find out how much. So this item here is a modular sleeping system, and it is depreciable by 10%. So this person lost this item for $237.50. That's the total cost, and we would depreciate it by 10%, so that they can go ahead and make payments so the Army can reissue them that item. Or if not, they have the right to refuse to make to sign this to make payment. Then the Army would investigate it. In this form, the DD-200, which is a FLIPL, would come into play. So the FLIPL is a financial liability report that we would have to create. Once the FLIPL is created, an investigating officer would be applied. So the investigating officer job would go around and investigate on whether this individual damaged the equipment purposely or mistakenly. So therefore, we can get the final say whether he needs to pay for it or not. This form, normally we have the person with the best knowledge to complete it, and it will be the date that it was initiated. We'll put the item description, the quantity, the price of the item, the date that the loss was discovered, a brief summary of what happened, what was it damaged, was it lost by the organization, actions being taken place, and then down here would be the commander's signature saying he is aware and initiate this FLIPL. And the FLIPL has to be signed by 3 other levels to authorize, hey, this person actually made a mistake, we're not going to go ahead and charge them, the Army will take the loss. But if the person is responsible, once all the information is gathered from these 3 also approving authorities have the right to say, hey, this individual has to pay back the Army the $237. We found evidence that it was his doing. That is the end of my brief, and if anybody has any questions, please feel free to message or email me. Thank you.